Welcome to ResponseABLE Parenting, the podcast that shows you how to parent in alignment to your emotions, needs, and goals versus your programming, bad advice, and let's face it, outdated strategies that just don't work. You'll get in the trenches support on nervous system and emotional regulation, critical mindset shifts, stronger communication strategies, and more. In this podcast, you'll gain transformational tools that take you from reacting to every frustration to responding with clarity, regulation, and finally setting the example you desire for your kids. I'm Becky Jennings, your new parenting coach, and this is the ResponseABLE Parenting podcast. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we're talking all things holidays because the holidays are rapidly approaching. As you're listening to it, it's probably Thanksgiving week here in the United States, but we're quickly jumping into the December holidays, and it's going to be here before we know it. So every single person that I work with has a strong-willed child or a neurodivergent child or is neurodivergent themselves. And this type of unchecked time, this free time, these days and days and days that just like build on each other, it is just a hotbed for conflict, a hotbed for dysregulation. And I, for the very first time, am not approaching the holidays in this way. Normally, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so great. We're going to have so much fun together. We're going to watch movies. We're going to bake cookies. And I have this kind of like naive Pollyanna view of how it's going to go. And it never goes that way. It's always just a relentless request tornado from my kids to be on some type of screen, a relentless picking and nudging at each other, and fights are breaking out. And I'm sitting here trying to make the Thanksgiving dinner. And it just is like, the expectations are never met. The happy, joyful memories are rarely made. And it just feels like we're moving from fire to fire to fire versus actually having enjoyable memories that are being made. So I decided to approach this year in a completely different way. And I am coming up with a structured plan of attack. So what I know to be true is my strong-willed child wants to know always what is ahead, what's expected, what's coming, how much time he has to wait for something that he's excited about. And so what I am creating, and I'm creating this with my children in order to get their buy-in, their sign-off, their engagement in the process. This weekend, before we head into the very long 9-day stretch of being together 24/7, we are creating a calendar. We are creating an expectation of how we are going to approach the holiday week. So my kids have the entire week off. I don't know why that's the case, but for whatever time frame during this holiday season that you will be together 24/7 with your children, I highly recommend coming in prepared, right? So from the moment they wake up on the first free day, they know what to expect. First of all, this is very, very helpful so that you don't always have to be the one dictating what is a yes and what is a no. You can point to the external calendar and say, what does it say on the calendar? What chunk of time are we operating in? Now, if you have a very strong-willed child, you often are experiencing a tremendous amount of dysregulation, and there is a lot more dysregulation in transitions. Transitions are kind of like this horrible breeding ground of tension and frustration because oftentimes they don't want to be moving to the next thing. And so what we are going to do is we are going to build out an expectation of how the day is going to flow, and we are going to build in pockets of regulation so that these transitions aren't as painful, so that they can actually move through the day and they're getting opportunities to dump out their dysregulation. So what I will be focusing on is creating blocks of time, depending on the activity, between 45 minutes and 90 minutes, right? This is going to be the block time. There are going to be a minimum of 3 physical activities, physical games, movement, whether that's outside playing, whether that's on a trampoline, whether that's bike riding, whether that's running hill sprints in our neighborhood. Like there will be 45 minutes at a minimum where they are moving their body, right? That's going to happen. I'm going to break these chunks. There's going to be 3 different distinct sections, morning, afternoon, and night, for them to get out all of their physical pent-up energy. Now, the sun sets here at like 4 o'clock. So after 4 o'clock, maybe that moves to an inside game. Maybe that moves to Twister, that board game. Maybe it moves to dodgeball with the soft plushy balls, and they can run against the wall and we're throwing dodgeballs at them. We just discovered this game Roly-Poly, and there's a lot of physical elements along with the card game part to it. So, and whether it's charades, I mean, it does not literally matter the game, but there has to be physical movement morning, afternoon, and night. Yes, I will be building in more screen time because I know hands down that is something that my kids crave, they want, they find it really special, especially on breaks and holidays. And so, yes, I will be building in more times for that. But the good thing about building that in is they're not coming to me every 2 seconds with their boredom and asking what they can do. So I'm going to be having times where they have to be looking at a book or doing an activity book, whether that's a highlights book or a puzzle book or something like that, where they have to be engaged in using their brain. There will be a moment of art or science, right? We can do that with having them help us cook a recipe or engaging in an art project. It doesn't matter. We need to have different breakout chunks through the day that they can expect, that they're going to flow into the next. And then here is the key point that we need to make sure is accepted, agreed upon, and done, is between each of these chunks, there will be a regulation practice. Whether it's individually done, or I think probably more effective that everybody stops what they're doing and engages in the regulation break. But we're talking either throwing on music and doing a quick dance party, right? That's regulation. Maybe it's going outside and putting our feet in the dirt, right? That's regulation. Maybe it's going and all having a glass of water together, regulation. Maybe that's practicing a breathing technique. Maybe that's getting under a weighted blanket. Maybe that's punching a pillow. Maybe that's, throwing a ball against the wall. It doesn't matter what it is, but there needs to be a dedicated time between each activity that is focused on regulation. What we are building in is a predictable schedule for our children, which when there is prediction, there is less friction. Ooh, I just came up with that, but that is a real thing. When there is prediction, there is less friction for sure, because our children aren't just floating in this abyss waiting to be told what to do. They know what to expect. And when you know what to expect, you're not thrown off. You're not surprised. You're not, rattled when you ask, hey, can I be watching a screen? And somebody says no. You're like, but there's nothing going on right now. Why can't I? And then there's the why, because I said so. So we're avoiding these natural pitfalls when we have a lot of time together. Can I be super real with you and tell you a personal story? A few years back, my son, the whole reason why I do the job I do today, was having one of those fiery moments. He was talking back, demanding it be his way. He was refusing to listen to any of our solutions, and the moment was getting really intense. My husband looked at me and said, well, you know all the parenting stuff, fix this. I completely froze. All the scripts from the books I'd read, all the strategies from the podcasts I'd listened to completely disappeared from my brain in that moment. But based on the volume of challenges that we were having with our strong-willed ADHD son, I knew I had to figure out a different way, because panicking in the moment and grasping at anything only to not follow through at all and end up yelling just wasn't working. From this experience, I developed a repeatable, easy to remember, and easy to follow system that literally works with every single triggering moment. I can attest to it because there are many in my life. Now I can show up the way I want. I can communicate in a way that actually resonates with my strong-willed child. If this sounds like a solution for what's happening in your home, take these next 2 steps. Number 1, watch the free training about my rewiring process in the show notes. And then number 2, book your free call. On that call, we will talk about what's happening in your home, and you will get a customized solution that works best for you. I assure you, this doesn't have to feel as hard day in and day out as it does. There is the solution, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it. So sit down before the holiday break. Put a physical calendar in front of you. Everybody is doing this together. You're going to ask your children, what are your top things that you want to happen during this holiday break? Maybe it's 2 things, maybe it's 3 things. Maybe you have the bandwidth to do 5 things. Whatever it is for your family, figure out what it is and what their top priorities are. Maybe it's like they want a play date with their friend and you didn't even realize that. But they didn't mention it, right? And then the day of, they're going to go, "Can I please have a play date with so and so?" And you're like, "We didn't even talk about this." Friction, right? So we're going to get this all on the table. We're going to figure out exactly what your kids want, and we're going to figure out where that fits in this calendar. Then we are going to build around those priorities because we want our children to know that we prioritize what they prioritize. We are going to fit in these other things: the reading time, the art time, the built-in iPad or computer or screen time, the family movie time, the exercise breaks. And then underneath each one of those blocks, we are adding a quick regulation opportunity. We are all on board with this. Even if it's something that we need to transition from room to room and make that sort of fun, we are building that in. Okay. Once we have the schedule, everybody's on board. I like to also have like one sneaky or one surprise thing. So maybe there's like a mystery section. That could be where we surprise them to a movie, or maybe we go to a fun like indoor trampoline gym or something like that. But there's one sort of surprise on there that we kind of get to make even more fun. Like we get to add more elements to it. So essentially what we're doing is we're protecting ourselves from power struggles, we're protecting ourselves from resistance, and everybody is on board with the flow of how the break is going to go. Now, here's where it gets fun. Maybe you're traveling to see relatives. Maybe family is coming to see you. And maybe they're not super on board with the way that you're trying to move the needle forward in your family. Maybe they are a little bit more rigid. Maybe they don't believe that neurodiversity exists. Maybe they just are like, well, that never existed and they could never do that in my household and yada, yada. We know that. We know some of those family members. And so what we are going to do is we are going to prepare in advance for that friction. In the calendar, what you are going to do is you're going to create pockets of time that are specifically designated for that family member, if that's something that they choose. Like if they really want to be a part of, if they want to be a part of activities or they kind of want their own special one-on-one time, then here's what you do. You create a menu, or they help you co-create that menu ahead of time of what they want to do with the kids. Maybe they really want to like bake cookies with them. Maybe they want to do a board game with them. Maybe they want to build a fort with them. Maybe they want to play hide and seek. Whatever it is, you create a menu list, right? Items that the kid and the grandparents and the kids or the aunt and uncles, they can choose from. Those are going to go in those blocks of time, those expected blocks of time. Now, at the end of these times, we have our quote unquote dessert menu. And this is the thing that they can choose, that regulation practice, right? So essentially what we are teaching the family members that we're bringing in or the family members that we're visiting is that we are really, really focused on nervous system to nervous system. We're really focused on seeing patterns of dysregulation and stopping it before it happens. We are really committed to engaging our children in a different way. And what we know to be true is when it's predictable, we are going to experience less friction. So that's why we have this schedule, right? We know that transitions can be increasingly challenging. And the more and more dysregulated our kids get, the more spicy the moment gets, the more tension there is, the more opportunity for fights, the more opportunity for massive meltdowns. So we're essentially taking out our child's bucket that is filling all day long. And we're offering opportunities throughout the day to dump that dysregulation out and come back to neutral. before we start the next thing. So every single opportunity is an opportunity to engage in something that is fun, stimulating, enjoyable, a memory, all of this. It's structured, it has a time limit, right? We are stopping at a certain time limit. We are engaging in a regulation practice. We are moving on to the next thing. It sounds like I'm being really strict and really like, we have a schedule to keep. Obviously, there's wiggle room in here, but truly having a structured, scheduled day gives our children that safety, that security, that knowing what to expect. My son, who is ADHD, also dealing with some other things that we're learning about right now, very, very strong-willed. He has said to me, I have to know he said, I specifically do really, really well with timeframes. I do really well when I know when I can do XYZ. When I know I feel safe, when I know I feel good, when I know I can fill my time until I get to that spot. So essentially, we are helping them and scaffolding around them and creating this opportunity for them to feel safe, to know what to expect, to have different opportunities to engage them in stimulating things, art, science, reading, exercise, screens, play, games, all these different things, because essentially boredom is just one gigantic long transition, building with dysregulation, building with frustration. And what I know to be true in my house is the second my children are bored, they're going to ask for a screen. And if the screen isn't available and I say no, then we're going to get into resistance. Then I have to figure out all the different reasons why. And it just turns into a whole thing. And about 5 minutes later, they're going to ask for a screen again. I do not want that this year. So I am structuring out the different pockets of the day, the different opportunities to create, the different opportunities to build, the different opportunities to relax, the different opportunities. You might even have in there an hour chunk where it's like free time. You choose what you want to do, right? Maybe you have some bins set up of different activities like invention bins or potion bins, or maybe you have building kits or things like that. But we are being proactive in these free days, because free days can be pure madness where we're trying to get stuff done. Maybe we want to clean out a closet. Maybe we have a big home project that we want to do. Maybe there's all these different things that we see happening during this time, but that can't happen when your kid's coming in and asking you what they can do. I'm bored. What can you come play with me? Can you do this? Can I be on screen? And we're getting frustrated. They're getting frustrated. So my goal in this is to really, really minimize the frustration, the resistance, the dysregulation, the aggression, the boredom. And we're being very, very thoughtful and proactive about what we know our kids will want. We're allowing them to speak that to us. We're prioritizing it. We're putting it on the schedule. We're making sure that we're showing them that what they want matters. We're building in intentional regulation practices during this time so that we are constantly dumping out the ever-filling bucket of dysregulation, of stimulation, of all of the things. Because let's not lie, holidays are super, super stimulating. There's more people. There's more conversations happening. There's different foods that we're experiencing. There's different smells. There's just so much different happening. There's people visiting. It's just like it's too much sometimes for these very sensitive children. So we're building in that consistency, that predictability. And honestly, when we can have that structure, we are setting ourselves up for success. Of course, there's going to be meltdowns. Of course, there's going to be those pockets and those moments, but we are giving ourselves a much better chance at eliminating or reducing these outbursts, the meltdowns, the dysregulation, the resistance, the power struggles, and all of that. So your homework, get a big old piece of construction paper or get your whiteboard out or your calendar, print out something big so everybody can see. Before the holidays begin, map out your children's priorities, put it on the calendar where it can fit. Build in different blocks of these activities. You're giving them the activity and you're letting them know this is the time to do said activity. Underneath each, there will be that regulation part of the day. Whether it's solo or you're doing it as a group, make sure that is definitely not missed. And then if guests are coming, create a menu, right? Create a opportunity for them to engage in this practice with you, support you and your family. Have the menu of different opportunities for the grandparent, the aunt, the uncle, the family, the relative, whatever it is, to connect in a way that gives them the best opportunity, that best shot at having a very good experience. You're giving them that list, right? And then you're also, quote unquote, giving them a regulation opportunity to choose a dessert item. I just like because it's fun. Like you can literally print out a menu, make it super cute and fun. And the kids will get involved because it's different. It's exciting. It's engaging their creativity, right? If I tell my kids we're going to create a menu for your grandma to use while she's here of different things that they can do, they are going to come up with so many different ideas, and it's going to be really engaging for both, right? Get your grandparents' feedback, get your family members' feedback, see what they want to do with the kids, add that to the menu. And then those are going to go on this little calendar, right? This little spreadsheet that you guys are creating. When we can engage family in this way, when we can lead that path, they're going to be like, wow, that was such a good vacation. We had very few fights, very few meltdowns. It's like, yeah, we prepared for this because we know at this point what to expect. Free time, boredom, no. I'm sorry. It's just a hard pass these days. So I hope that's very helpful. I can't wait to hear what you guys come up with, what you do, how it helps and supports your family, and Godspeed during this holiday season. Talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to the ResponseABLE Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.